Lex Estates.
What should investors do if they want changes in the SPA, but the developer refuses?
Usually developers, they have their standard SPA, which most of the time they're not ready to change unless the investor is buying a huge stock, let's say. Maybe then developer go to some sort of negotiation. But if buyer is buying one unit or couple of units, because of that the developer is not ready to change their SPA template. And the SPAs are basically pretty standard, and of course it's buyer's right to accept it or reject it.
Exactly.
Yes. So if the buyer is not willing to accept those terms, and if he doesn't like those terms, then he wouldn't just proceed with the sale. The same thing if the developers, they feel a big potential in that deal. If the buyer is buying huge stock, or the whole building, or let's say if they see this deal interesting, they may then go for the negotiation and change the SPA terms. So it's completely up to the parties. Yes, but in our practice we know developers, they don't change the SPA.
Is it possible to buy property in Dubai remotely?
In terms of legality, it's absolutely possible to buy a property without coming to Dubai, especially if you are dealing with a developer, because developers, they have this procedure which can be handled online. The contract can be signed remotely, and it can be exchanged through DHL or through couriers, the signed contracts. Payments can be done also by transferring to the account of the developer. So it's possible legally to buy property remotely without coming to Dubai.
When can the developer withdraw funds from the escrow account?
So the money they pay has to go to the escrow account, which is basically controlled by Dubai Land Department. So when they make a payment, they need to make sure that it goes to the escrow. It will say it's an escrow account. Right? So the developer has a right to withdraw funds based on the construction stage. So they will not have access to full amount until they complete the construction. So this way, government makes sure that developer, they deliver the projects in order to get full access to the funds. And during the construction, based on the construction percentage, the land department release funds to the developer. So it goes with the stage of construction, and the amount of money they can withdraw will depend on this.
What is the process of buying ready property?
So the process of buying a property in secondary market is completely different than buying off plan. In secondary market, the person has to be physically here, or he needs to appoint someone with a power of attorney. And the transfer happens at the trustee office, where the parties need to be present, and the seller has to be present, or seller's representative, and buyer or buyer's representative has to be present. And the payment has to be done through manager check.
How does mortgage payment work?
But when it's mortgage involved, then of course, after the parties enter into agreement, then there is a mortgage approval process. If the buyer wants to secure a mortgage from the bank checks the buyer's profile, if he's able to pay based on his bank statements, whether he's employed, whether he's a self-employed, based on his income type, the bank then can decide whether they will give the mortgage or no. So if the mortgage is approved, then in a trustee office there will be three parties, basically seller, buyer, and the bank's representative. And the bank will basically pay on behalf of the buyer to the seller, also through manager check.